I'm gonna regret this, but D&D Players, what's the most screwed up thing you've ever done in a game? Part 1. I cut the dick off a bandit, put it on a crossbow bolt, and fired it at their leader to send a message. Rolled high and ended up firing it down his throat during his monologue. DM gave him choking damage each round he failed the strength check to remove. Edit. I was also allowed to keep the wizard's dick to use for similar purposes later in the campaign. It may have magical abilities. What the fuck? Oh boy, let's see. Once in an evil campaign, I played a bounty hunter-style character as a ranger. Favored enemies were all humanoids, and I took some feat or prestige class or some other trait from a splat book. I forget which, this was 15 years ago, that gave me bonuses for taking trophies from high-level victims. The DM let me do this because he didn't really think there was any way I could abuse it, but he both underestimated me and didn't read closely enough because the bonuses stacked. Well, by the end of the campaign, every piece of clothing I was wearing was made of some part or other from a sentient humanoid. Jacket made of human skin, I went with a trench coat eventually because I had so much spare material, gloves made of elf skin, necklace of halfling teeth, belt with dwarf beard scalps hanging off of it, the works. To him, it was like collecting bottle caps. In the end, when we retired the campaign and rolled up new stuff, the DM asked me if he could use the character as a reoccurring villain for future games. It was another player in our campaign, but he beat a woman to death with her own baby. It ended up winning him a lot of favor with a particular god that we were trying to become acolytes of. Our party was finishing off a group of bandits. I was the last to roll, natural 20. I decided to split the guy in half. Then I went to spit on the corpse, the DM jokingly made me roll for it, and I rolled a 1. Ended up vomiting on the dude's half face. Burned a village for stealing my horse. Razed the village, charred it to a crisp. I didn't just love my horse, I was in love with my horse. We had a snow day in college and my friend convinced me to play D&D. I was sort of half into it. The DM gave me a pre-rolled fighter for the easy mode. So, the DM sent us all a quick IM telling us to meet in the dorm common room with drinks and snacks in 1 hour. He tells the other guys, I rolled a fighter for Ganglebot because he's new. Come with a new character for yourselves. No bards, they're annoying. 1 hour later, one of the guys shows up in a Ren Fair costume with a guitar and proudly presents his bard halfling. He literally freestyles bard songs about everything that was happening. The DM was fucking livid. The DM immediately says, this is a one-off campaign. If you die, that's it. You're out. In the first encounter, the DM brings up a goblin with a single-shot staff that deals 10,000 damage. The bard rolls high initiative and goes first. He knows this ad hoc goblin is here for him. He says he's holding his turn. Someone else swings at the goblin and misses. It's the goblin's turn. The goblin goes to fire at the bard. The bard uses a spell to switch places with someone. My fighter. It kills me. I wasn't invested in the game anyway, so I laugh, say thanks, and leave. The bard sings me out. Halfway down the hall back to my room, I hear the DM start yelling. During a jailbreak, because the wizard is a drunk, my half-orc threw a locked evidence chest at a guard with the intent on knocking him out. But the D20 had other plans. I roll a nat 20 and kill the guard with the chest, which also broke, spilling all the confiscated loot on the ground. DM got butthurt over our party's inventive ways of solving problems. We had to because he was always running on hard mode. Edit. And I loved it. Just trying to add some drama here. He retaliates by sending us into a situation of certain death. Our paladin dies. He's our tank and we're fighting an entire army division led by a demon-possessed general who gains power by causing death as a blood ritual. Another party member falls. We are fighting in a small town. The streets and choke points with alleys, buildings, and whatnot are the only things protecting us from the sheer number of enemies we were being pursued by. Our wizard is killed, and our dragonkin and cleric, me, Race, Deva, are now fucked, and DM is throwing us no bone. This was our punishment for thwarting his plans and creating solutions so inventive he could never anticipate them. So, his pre-made situations often had to be changed on the fly, and he expertly did so as a DM. Hats off to you. How dare we? DM had designed the town and made a cool grid drawing. Houses, shops, town hall, farmhouses, and, on the edge of town, a 20-ish story grain silo. The cleric dies and the lone survivor, our dragonkin, gets close enough to the silo, but is wounded and near death. Dragonkin, last survivor, asks the DM if there's grain in the silo. The army and their demon leader are closing in and ready to tear every scale from the dragonkin. DM rolls. Yes, there's grain in the silo. Dragonkin nods to us and we smile with understanding. Dragonkin, our lone survivor, uses his turn to make fire with a special ability, and DM didn't know about dust explosions being a very common hazard in grain silos and grain elevators. Cue the Wikipedia link below. Months-long campaign over with hours upon hours of non-play time invested as well. Best campaign I have ever played is Dunsky. Town is a crater, main antagonist is vaporized, antagonist's army is vaporized, and all party member corpses are vaporized. TLDR. Challenging DM, inventive party challenges DM, DM signs our death warrant by making us fight an entire army in a town. Our lone survivor turns the town into a crater by using the town's grain silo as a dust bomb, and vaporizes all our corpses, vaporizes the army, vaporizes the main antagonist, a demon-possessed leader of the army we couldn't even win against 4v1. Best campaign I played ever is concluded. We spent months on this. Edit. I've been a DM for the last 10 years or so, not really getting much opportunity to roll as a player. One of my crowning moments was when I made my players cry. Here's the setting. The party are traveling through a village overlooked by a menacing manor house. They hear that the children of the town have been kidnapped by the vampire that dwells within the manor and turned. The party knows that if they can kill the vampire before the next full moon, the children will become human again. So, they venture into the manor to find and kill the vampire. As they explore the manor house, they find excerpts of the vampire's journal detailing his descent into madness, and eventually, vampirism. It tells of how the vampire lost his children to a wasting disease that plagued the town before, and his wife killed herself shortly after. How he cursed the gods and was cursed in turn. The party eventually find and kill the vampire lord, but to their shock, the children die shortly after turning back. It turns out that the disease that affected the vampire's children hundreds of years ago was a genetic disease that emerges every so many years. He was kidnapping children with the disease and turning them, saving them from a painful death. Turning them back resulted in the children all succumbing rapidly to the disease. The aftermath of the quest was that the party donated all the gold they found in the manor to the townsfolk, helped bury the children, and planted the banner they looted a while back as a monument to the lives lost. Oh, and in my current campaign, I'm going to kill the party's horse. I decided I wanted a whip as one of my weapons. Early into our campaign, we come across a house of hags. On the first floor, we killed the first one. Then, I wrapped its neck with my whip and dragged it upstairs to show the sisters as a threat. Next, I used my torch and oil to blow fire and burning the second hag. On the third hag, we used a snake to bind her movements. Then, I rolled a critical with my whip, wrapping my whip around its neck, Indiana Jones style, and had a companion throw her out the window, followed by a critical strength check to yank the whip and snap her neck on the way down. Apparently, I was feeling especially aggressive that day. Another time, in the same campaign, we came across a cult leader. We killed her and found out she had adult children. So, I grabbed old trusty whip and dragged her from the hidden basement to the main room and decided to use a rope to make it look like she hung herself, leaving a note reading, "My dear boys, I fear I have wasted my life with wrong and unredeemable choices. My dying wish is that you learn from my wrongdoings and turn your back to these evil ways. Please, don't fall into the seductive and devouring pits of darkness." The group wasn't high on the idea. Also, turned out the boys weren't evil. We told them what happened, they were sad, but went on about their business. My shaman character had won a non-removable magic pink marker. I think it was in a bar or something, that could write in the air or on anything. The only way to remove the writing was to say the removal incantation that was given to me in secret by the DM. So, my friend, being the dick that he was, stole most of my gold and a few potions whilst I was asleep. Think I was getting us pizza. Oh, what a dickhead. So, I decided to draw a pink dick on his face. The poor guy couldn't buy from any merchant as they showed him away. Fun times. Went through heaven and hell for a side quest which promised to make the main mission easier, since the reward was the answer to any one question we would ask. The idiot orc thief asks, "Do you really know anything?"
"Yes. Now leave!"
Didn't really make our characters like him more. In one campaign, there was a war going on and I captured an enemy soldier who had taken part in burning my hometown and torturing people. I cut his tongue off and kept him as my personal slave. It happened when my character was like level 3, and I kept this guy for more than a year and a half worth of campaign. He finally died of poisoning. I used to test my food by giving small bits of it to him. As it turned out, someone tried to kill me this way. Essentially, he saved my life. Nuff said. We were playing as the bad guys. There was the time while we were preparing to ambush a sleeping dragon, everyone was in position except yours truly. All my thief had to do was climb across the stalactites over top to set up his backstab. And of course, I failed my roll and landed inside the dragon's snoring mouth. Interestingly, I'm the only one to escape alive. We once burned down an orphanage and took the 50 orphans into our care, then took them out into a cave in a beast-infested wilderness where we tried to establish a summer camp for them. Perpetually traumatized them unintentionally. Our druid taught a few of them to shapeshift, and they got stuck as wolf pups and bear cubs. The bard started training them as a crew of child pickpockets. Then, we kind of got bored and left them in the cave with an upturned wagon as a front door with a dragonkin thief and a tame winter wolf in charge, while we went and pursued adventure. Oh god, this is my current group that I'm DMing for. Nobody is a rogue. So the party face keeps charming NPCs into joining the group and acting as a trap detector / deactivator, only for the NPC to either die in horrific ways, such as being crushed under 20,000 pounds of rock, or have some horrible fate befall them. The latest one stuck an arm into a portal. Said portal was to the positive energy plane, so the arm went pop due to so much exposure. Then, the NPC was mind-raped into sticking his head into another portal, whilst he was mourning the conversion of his arm from a useful grabbing tool into a dibber. This time, the portal was to the wind-swept depths of pandemonium, oh no, where he promptly failed his will saves and went insane and ran off into the night cackling and howling like a loon with one arm. Good times. It became a game to see what traps the NPCs will fail next whilst the PCs look on. Also, if any of my group are reading this, be prepared. The Mind Flayer will have fun with you in the next session.